The door shook under the weight of fists hammering against it, not knocking, pounding. Elena Ward jerked awake on her couch, still in scrubs from her overnight shift, her body already moving before her mind caught up. 3:47 a.m. Nobody comes at 3:47 unless something's broken. She pulled herself upright, every muscle screaming from 14 hours on her feet, and looked through the peephole. 3 men in tactical vests, hands hovering near their belts, faces hard as concrete. Her pulse didn't spike, it steadied. She'd seen that look before, just in different uniforms, different countries, under different skies. They expected someone scared, someone easy. They got neither. Elena unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door exactly 6 inches. "Can I help you?" The lead officer blinked. Whatever script he'd prepared, it didn't start with calm. "Before we go further, stick with me until the end of this story. If you want to see where this goes, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to know how far this story can travel." The officer recovered fast. His hand was already on the doorframe, pressing forward like he owned the space. "Step aside. We're conducting a search." Elena didn't move. Her eyes flicked to the badge clipped to his vest, then to the folded paper in his other hand. "Show me the warrant." He actually laughed, short, sharp, dismissive. The kind of laugh meant to make someone feel small. "You're not in a position to make demands, ma'am." "I'm in a position to ask for identification of legal authority before I let strangers into my home," Elena said. Her voice hadn't changed, still low, still even. "So, show me the warrant." The officer behind him shifted his weight, hand drifting closer to his sidearm. Intimidation tactic. Textbook. She'd seen it used on villagers in Kandahar, on refugees at checkpoints, on people who didn't know their rights. It worked on people who were afraid. Elena was many things. Afraid wasn't one of them. The lead officer, Sergeant Dutch, according to his nameplate, shoved the warrant toward her face. "Here. Happy now? Move." Elena took it. Slowly, she unfolded it with the kind of care someone uses when they're reading every single word. Dutch's jaw tightened. His partner, a younger guy with a buzz cut and nervous eyes, glanced at his watch. The third officer, older, heavy-set, just stared at her like she was a bug refusing to get stepped on. "This warrant," Elena said, not looking up, "is for 1247 Ashford Lane, apartment 3B. "That's this address," Dutch snapped. "This is 1247 Ashford Lane, apartment 3C. Silence dropped like a brick. Dutch grabbed the paperback, scanned it, and his face went tight. "Clerical error. Doesn't matter." "It matters," Elena said. "You need a warrant specific to the location you're searching. Otherwise, it's an illegal entry." "We have reasonable suspicion." "Of what?" Dutch's eyes narrowed. "Narcotics distribution. Anonymous tip. Now step aside before I arrest you for obstruction." Elena leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. She wasn't blocking them, not technically, but she also wasn't moving. Obstruction requires an active, lawful investigation. If your warrant doesn't cover this apartment, you don't have lawful entry. So before you threaten me with arrest, maybe check your paperwork. The younger officer looked at Dutch. Dutch's hand flexed. For a second, Elena thought he might actually try it, push through, force the issue, see what happens. She could see him running the math in his head. 3 of them, 1 of her. Woman, alone, probably scared, probably won't fight back. She watched him think it, and she waited. "You a lawyer or something?" the older officer finally asked, voice rough as gravel. "No," Elena said. "Just someone who knows when people are overstepping." Dutch's jaw worked like he was chewing glass. "Fine. We'll get the corrected warrant. Stay here." "I have to be at work in 3 hours," Elena said. "So unless you're planning to stand in my hallway until then, I suggest you come back when your documentation is in order." She started to close the door. Dutch's boot stopped it. "I don't think you understand how this works," he said, leaning in close enough that she could smell coffee and stale cigarettes on his breath. "We're going to search this apartment. Whether you cooperate or not is up to you, but it's happening." Elena looked him dead in the eye. "Then I guess we'll see each other in court." She stepped back, and before he could react, she shut the door. The deadbolt slid home with a solid click. For a long moment there was nothing. Then Dutch's voice came through the door, low and furious. You just made a big mistake, lady. Elena stood in the center of her living room, listening to their boots retreat down the hallway. Her hands were steady. Her breathing was controlled. She walked to the kitchen, filled a glass of water, and drank it slowly. Then she pulled out her phone and made a call. It rang twice before a woman's voice answered. Legal aid, this is Marissa. I need to file a complaint, Elena said. Attempted unlawful search by Metro PD. I have the warrant with the wrong apartment number. They threatened arrest when I refused entry. Marissa's tone shifted, sharpening. Are you safe right now? For now. Stay where you are. Document everything. I'm sending someone. Elena hung up and opened her laptop. She pulled up the building's security camera feed. She'd gotten access after a break-in 2 months ago and found the footage from the hallway. She downloaded it, backed it up, and sent copies to 3 different email addresses. Then she took photos of the warrant, zooming in on the apartment number, the signatures, the date stamp. When she was done, she sat on the edge of her couch and stared at her hands. They still didn't shake. She thought maybe they should. Normal people's hands shook after something like that. But hers hadn't shaken in years, not since the first time she'd held pressure on a femoral artery while mortar rounds hit 50 meters out. You either learned to stay steady or you didn't make it home. She'd made it home. Barely. Her phone buzzed, a text from her supervisor at Mercy General. You coming in? Yeah. On my way. She changed out of her scrubs, pulled on jeans and a clean shirt, and grabbed her bag. The hallway was empty when she stepped out. No officers, no boots. But as she locked her door, she noticed something, a small smudge on the doorframe, right where Dutch's hand had been. Fingerprint dust. They'd tried to mark it. Elena wiped it off with her sleeve and kept walking. Yes. The hospital was chaos, same as always. Mercy General never slept, just rotated through different flavors of crisis depending on the shift. Elena clocked in, tied her hair back, and stepped into the controlled disaster of the ER. Patients stacked in beds along the hallways. Monitors beeping out of sync. Someone screaming in Bay 4. Another Tuesday. Ward, thank God, her charge nurse Kim called out from behind the desk. Trauma 2, GSW to the abdomen. Pressure's dropping. Go. Elena moved. No hesitation. No wasted motion. She pushed through the double doors into Trauma Bay 2 and found the patient. Male, mid-20s, skin pale and sweating, blood soaking through makeshift bandaging on his left side. 2 paramedics were transferring him from the gurney to the table. Dr. Hassan was already gloving up. What do we have? Hassan asked, not looking up. Single GSW, lower left quadrant, one of the paramedics said. Entry wound, no exit. BP's 80/50 and falling, gave him 2 liters on the way in. Elena was already cutting away the bandages, exposing the wound. Small entry, minimal external bleeding, which meant it was all going internal. She grabbed the ultrasound probe, squirted gel, and pressed it against his abdomen. The screen lit up with a dark pool spreading across his peritoneum. Hemoperitoneum, she said. Significant. Hassan swore under his breath. OR's backed up. We've got 3 surgeries ahead of us. He won't make it 3 surgeries, Elena said. Their eyes met. Hassan nodded. Then we stabilize him here. Get me a central line kit. And call upstairs. Tell them we need an OR now, not in 20 minutes. Elena's hands moved on autopilot. IV access. Medications. Monitoring. The patient's eyes rolled back, his breathing shallow and rapid. She'd seen that look before. The body shutting down, redirecting everything to the core, trying desperately to keep the heart and brain alive. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Stay with me, she said quietly, checking his pulse. Thready, weak, fading. The doors slammed open and 2 more nurses rushed in with the crash cart. Hassan barked orders. Elena intubated the patient while another nurse started chest compressions. The monitors screamed. The room became a choreographed mess of controlled panic, everyone moving, everyone focused, everyone fighting the same fight. And then, somehow, the rhythm came back. The heart monitor beeped steady. BP started climbing. The patient gasped around the tube, chest rising and falling on its own. We're good, Hassan said, stepping back. Get him upstairs. Now. They wheeled him out at a run. Elena stripped off her gloves and leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The adrenaline was already fading, leaving behind the familiar hollow ache. She'd done this 100 times, more, but it never got easier, just faster. Kim appeared in the doorway. You good? Yeah. Liar. Kim handed her a bottle of water. Take 5, you've been here since midnight. Elena checked her watch. 7:15 a.m. She'd been on shift for 19 hours. She took the water and drank half of it in one go. I'm fine. Sure you are. Kim studied her for a moment, then sighed. Look, I don't know what's going on with you, but you've been running on fumes for weeks. You're going to burn out. I'm not, Elena. Kim's voice softened. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know what burnout looks like, and I know what someone looks like when they're using work to avoid dealing with something else. Elena stared at the floor. I'm handling it. Are you? She didn't answer. Kim let the silence sit for a moment, then patted her shoulder. Just don't forget to take care of yourself, okay? We need you here, but we need you in one piece. Elena nodded. Kim left. The ER continued its symphony of controlled chaos around her. Monitors, voices, footsteps, the constant hum of machines keeping people alive. She closed her eyes and let herself have 10 seconds. Just 10. Then she pushed off the wall and got back to work. The shift ended at 8. Elena clocked out, walked to her car, and sat behind the wheel without starting the engine. Her phone had 6 missed calls. 2 from Marissa at Legal Aid, 1 from an unknown number, 3 from someone listed only as Jay. She stared at the screen. Her thumb hovered over Jay's name. She didn't press it. Instead, she called Marissa. Elena, finally, Marissa said. We need to talk. Can you come in? I just got off work. I haven't slept in... This can't wait. The officers who came to your apartment this morning, they filed a complaint against you. Elena's grip tightened on the phone. For what? Obstruction, threatening an officer, interfering with an investigation. I didn't threaten anyone. I know, but they're claiming you did, and they've escalated it to their captain. If we don't respond fast, this could turn into formal charges. Elena's jaw clenched. She'd known it was coming, known the second Dutch's boot stopped her door that he wasn't going to let it go. Men like him didn't handle being told no. What do you need from me? Everything. The warrant, the footage, your statement, and I need it today. I'll be there in 30. She hung up and started the car. The drive to Legal Aid's office took her through downtown Millbrook, a city that looked better in photos than it did in person. Old brick buildings next to new glass towers. Gentrified coffee shops next to pawn shops with bars on the windows. Progress and decay side by side, neither one winning. Legal Aid was on the 3rd floor of a building that smelled like old carpet and photocopier ink. Marissa met her at the door, mid-40s, sharp eyes, hair pulled back in a bun that had come loose hours ago. She looked tired. Everyone in this building looked tired. Come on, Marissa said, leading her to a small conference room. Let's see what we're dealing with. Elena laid it all out. The warrant, the footage, her timeline of events. Marissa listened, taking notes, occasionally stopping to ask clarifying questions. When Elena finished, Marissa sat back and rubbed her temples. Okay, she said. Here's where we are. The warrant is garbage. Wrong apartment. Probable cause is thin at best. And the judge who signed it has a history of rubber stamping whatever Metro PD puts in front of him. We can fight this. But these officers have filed complaints before, against other people who refused entry, and every single time the department backed them up, dismissed the complaints, promoted the narrative that the civilians were obstructing justice. It's a pattern. So what are you saying? Marissa met her eyes. I'm saying this isn't just about you. This is about a system that protects bad cops. And if we push back, they're going to push harder. Elena didn't blink. Let them. Marissa smiled, small, grim, and genuine. All right then, let's go to war. The next 48 hours were a blur. Marissa filed a formal complaint with Internal Affairs. Elena gave a sworn statement. The footage went to 3 different oversight bodies, and somewhere in the machine, gears started turning. Elena went back to work. Back to the ER. Back to the rhythm of saving lives and watching others slip away. She didn't think about Dutch, didn't think about the complaint, didn't think about the phone calls from Jay that she still hadn't returned. She just worked. On the third night, Kim pulled her aside during a lull. "You've got a visitor." Elena frowned. "Who?" "Didn't say. Just asked for you by name. He's in the waiting room." Elena's stomach tightened. She walked out to the waiting room and stopped cold. The man sitting in the corner wasn't Dutch. He was older, late 50s, graying hair, suit that looked government issue. He stood when he saw her, and his eyes did a quick assessment, professional, clinical. "Miss Ward?" "Who's asking?" He pulled out a badge. "Federal, Office of Inspector General. Special Agent Holt. I'd like to ask you a few questions about the incident at your apartment." Elena crossed her arms. "I already gave a statement to legal aid." "I know. I read it. That's why I'm here." He gestured to the chairs. "This won't take long." She sat. He sat across from her, pulling out a small notebook. "Tell me about Sergeant Dutch." "I told him to get a proper warrant. He didn't like it, that's all." "That's not all," Holt said quietly. "You identified procedural violations that most civilians wouldn't know existed. You documented everything. You didn't panic. You didn't comply out of fear." He leaned forward slightly. "Where'd you learn to do that?" Elena's expression didn't change. "I pay attention." "So do I." Holt tapped his pen against the notebook. "And what I'm paying attention to is a pattern. Sergeant Dutch has been involved in 18 warrant executions in the past 2 years. 16 of them resulted in searches. 14 of those searches found nothing, and in every case the warrants had issues. Wrong addresses, vague probable cause, signatures from judges who don't ask questions." "Sounds like a problem." "It is, but until now, nobody's pushed back hard enough to make it stick." Holt's eyes stayed on hers. "You did. And now Dutch is trying to bury you before this gets bigger. So I'm going to ask you again, where'd you learn to stand your ground like that?" Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I was a combat medic, attached to a special operations unit, deployed twice, Afghanistan and Iraq. You learn pretty fast how to tell when someone's bluffing and when they're not." Holt nodded slowly. "That explains a lot." "Does it?" "It explains why you didn't fold. It explains why you knew exactly what to ask for, and it explains why Dutch is scared." He closed the notebook. "He's not used to people who've seen worse than him." "What do you want from me?" "Your help. We're building a case against Dutch and his unit, but we need testimonies, documentation, people willing to go on record." He stood. "Think about it. If you're interested, call me." He handed her a card and walked out. Elena sat there for a long time, staring at the card in her hand. Then she tucked it into her pocket and went back to work. What? 2 days later, everything exploded. Elena was halfway through a shift when her phone buzzed. A text from Marissa. "Turn on the news." She ducked into the break room and found the TV already on. The screen showed a press conference, Holt standing at a podium, flanked by 2 other federal agents. The chyron at the bottom read, "Metro PD officers arrested in corruption probe. Resulted in the arrest of Sergeant Marcus Dutch and 4 other officers," Holt was saying. "Charges include falsifying warrants, unlawful searches, evidence tampering, and civil rights violations. This investigation is ongoing, and we expect additional arrests." Elena's phone rang. "Marissa." She answered. "Did you know about this?" Marissa asked. "Holt came to see me. I didn't know it was happening today." "Well, it's happening, and Dutch is already trying to flip the narrative. He's claiming you're part of some anti-police agenda, that you threatened him, that—" "Let him talk," Elena said. "I've got documentation, I've got footage, and now I've got the feds backing me up. He can say whatever he wants." Marissa was quiet for a second. Then she laughed, sharp and relieved. "You know what? You're right. Let him dig his own grave." Elena hung up and watched the rest of the press conference. Holt fielded questions with the kind of calm precision she recognized. Someone who'd done this before, who knew exactly how much to say and how much to hold back. When a reporter asked if more officers were implicated, he just smiled and said, "Stay tuned." She turned off the TV and went back to work. But the weight that had been sitting on her chest for days was finally starting to lift. The fallout came fast. Dutch was suspended pending trial. 2 other officers resigned before they could be charged. Internal Affairs opened investigations into 16 separate cases tied to the unit. Warrants were being reviewed. Arrests were being overturned. The whole structure was collapsing. And Elena kept working. She didn't give interviews, didn't talk to reporters, didn't make statements. She just showed up for her shifts, did her job, and went home. People at the hospital started looking at her differently, not with pity, but with something closer to respect. The quiet nurse who'd taken down a dirty cop, the woman who didn't back down. Kim cornered her one afternoon in the supply room. "You're kind of a badass, you know that?" Elena shrugged. "I just didn't let them push me around. Most people would have. Most people haven't had the same training." Kim studied her for a moment. "You never talk about it. Your time in the service." "Not much to talk about." "I don't believe that." Elena grabbed the supplies she needed and turned to leave. Kim caught her arm. "Hey, I'm glad you're okay, and I'm glad you fought back. That took guts." Elena managed a small smile. "Thanks." She walked out, supplies in hand, and nearly ran into Dr. Hassan in the hallway. He stepped aside, then paused. "Ward, you got a minute?" "Sure." He led her to an empty exam room and closed the door. "I heard about what happened with the police." "It's handled." "I know, but I wanted to tell you something." Hassan leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "I've worked with a lot of people in this ER. Good people, smart people, but most of them fold under pressure. You don't. And that's not just training, that's character." Elena didn't know what to say to that, so she just nodded. "If you ever need a reference or a testimonial or someone to go to bat for you, call me, anytime." "I appreciate that." Hassan smiled. "Now, get back to work. We've got a full board." Elena left the room and returned to the organized chaos of the ER. Another patient. Another crisis. Another life hanging in the balance. She slipped back into the rhythm without thinking, hands moving through procedures she could do in her sleep. Somewhere in the middle of her shift, her phone buzzed again. Another text from Jay. "I heard what happened. You okay?" She stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back, "Yeah, I'm fine." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "Good. Stay safe." She put the phone away and got back to work. The trial took months. Elena testified twice, once in a preliminary hearing, once in the main trial. Both times, she walked into the courtroom calm and composed, answered every question with precision, and walked out without looking back. Dutch's lawyers tried to paint her as hostile, aggressive, anti-authority. The footage and documentation buried them every time. The jury came back in less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Dutch got 8 years. The other officers got lesser sentences, plea deals, probation. The unit was disbanded, cases were reviewed. People who'd been wrongfully convicted started getting releases. And Elena went back to her life. Chad. It was a quiet morning when everything finally settled. Elena was at home, drinking coffee on her balcony, watching the sun come up over Millbrook. Her phone rang. Holt. "Morning," he said. "Just wanted to let you know, last of the appeals got denied. Dutch is officially going to prison." "Good." "Yeah, it is." Holt paused. "You did a good thing, Ms. Ward. A lot of people are better off because you didn't back down." "I just didn't let them push me around." "Most people do. You didn't. That matters." Another pause. "If you ever want to work with us, consultations, training, anything, let me know. We could use people like you." Elena smiled. "I'll think about it." She hung up and finished her coffee. The city was waking up around her, cars on the streets, people heading to work, life moving forward. She'd been part of something that mattered, something that made a difference. But she was also just a nurse, just someone trying to get through the day. Her phone buzzed one more time. "Kim, you working tonight?" "Yeah, see you at 7. She went inside, got ready for her shift, and headed out. The hospital was waiting. The patients were waiting. The work was waiting. And Elena Ward, combat medic, ER nurse, woman who'd stared down corrupt cops and won, was ready. She'd seen worse. She'd survived worse. And she'd keep surviving, one shift at a time, one patient at a time, one battle at a time. Because that's what she did. That's who she was. And Nobody was going to take that away from her. The hospital felt different now. Same fluorescent lights, same beeping monitors, same smell of antiseptic and recycled air. But the looks had changed. People nodded when Elena walked past. Whispered conversations stopped when she entered rooms. Not hostility, something closer to cautious respect, like she'd crossed some invisible line and nobody was quite sure what it meant. She didn't want it, didn't need it, just wanted to do her job and go home. But the city had other plans. 3 weeks after Dutch's sentencing, Elena was restocking Trauma Bay 1 when Kim appeared in the doorway. Got a walk-in. Bay 3. Says she needs to talk to you specifically. Elena frowned. About what? Didn't say, but she looked scared. Elena grabbed a tablet and headed to Bay 3. The woman sitting on the exam table was maybe 40, thin, wearing a jacket too heavy for the weather. Her eyes darted to the door when Elena entered, then back to her hands. I'm Elena Ward. You asked for me? The woman nodded. My name's Rachel Voss. I saw you on the news, the thing with the police. Okay. I need help. Rachel's voice cracked. They came to my house last month. Different officers, but same thing. Bad warrant. They tore my place apart, took my laptop, my phone, my son's Xbox, said they were looking for stolen property. Elena pulled up a chair. Did they find anything? No, because there wasn't anything to find, but they kept it all anyway, said it was evidence. Rachel's hands twisted together. I tried to get it back, filed complaints, called lawyers. Nobody cares. And now they're saying if I keep pushing, they'll charge me with filing false reports. Have you talked to legal aid? They're swamped. Said they'd get to me in 3 months. Rachel looked up and her eyes were red. I can't wait 3 months. My son needs his stuff for school. I need my phone for work. And I need someone to tell me I'm not crazy for thinking this is wrong. Elena was quiet for a moment. Then she said, You're not crazy. What they did was wrong. And you have options. Like what? Like documenting everything, getting copies of the warrant, filing a complaint with the Inspector General's office, not just internal affairs, making noise until someone listens. Rachel's expression shifted, hope mixing with disbelief. You think that'll work? It worked for me. Yeah, but you're... Rachel gestured vaguely. You're different. You knew what to do. I don't. I'm just a cashier at Target. Elena leaned forward. Listen to me. You don't have to be special to stand up for yourself. You just have to be willing to fight back. And if you need help doing that, I know people who can guide you. She pulled out her phone, found Holt's contact, and wrote it on a piece of paper. Call this number. Tell him I sent you. He's federal. He'll take it seriously. Rachel stared at the paper like it might disappear. You really think this could work? I think you deserve better than getting pushed around by people who think they can get away with it. Rachel took the paper. Her hands were shaking. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when you get your stuff back. Rachel left. Elena sat in the empty bay for a minute, staring at nothing. She could already feel it starting, the slow pull of something bigger than herself. People reaching out, people who thought she had answers, people who saw her as more than just a nurse. She didn't want that weight, but she couldn't ignore it either. Kim found her 10 minutes later. You okay? Yeah, just tired. You're always tired. Kim sat down across from her. Look, I know you're trying to keep your head down and just work, but people are noticing, and not just patients. Administration's been talking about you. Elena's head snapped up. What do you mean? I mean, the hospital's PR team is thrilled. Local nurse takes down corrupt cops? That's good press. They're thinking about doing a feature in the newsletter, maybe a community event. No. I told them you'd say that. Kim smiled. But they're persistent. Just be ready for someone in a suit to corner you in the hallway. Great. Hey, at least you're not getting arrested anymore. Elena almost laughed. Almost. The rest of the shift passed in the usual rhythm. Patients coming and going, crises escalating and resolving, the endless cycle of people trying not to die. By the time Elena clocked out, her body felt like it weighed twice what it should. She drove home, climbed the stairs to her apartment, and stopped. Someone was sitting outside her door. Not Dutch. Not a cop. A woman, early 30s, sharp blazer, hair pulled back tight. She stood when Elena approached. Elena Ward? Who's asking? The woman handed her a business card. Lena Ortiz, I'm a reporter with the Millbrook Chronicle. I'd like to talk to you about Sergeant Dutch and the corruption case. Elena didn't take the card. I don't do interviews. I'm not asking for an interview. I'm asking for context. Lena's tone was professional, not pushy. I've been covering this story since the arrests, and the more I dig, the more I find. Dutch wasn't working alone. There's a network, other officers, other precincts, and people are scared to talk. So talk to the feds. I am, but they're only giving me official statements. I need perspective from someone who lived it, someone who fought back and won. Elena unlocked her door. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I'm not the person you want. Why not? Because I'm not a crusader. I'm not trying to change the system. I just didn't want them in my apartment. Lena studied her for a moment. You know what I think? I think you're lying to yourself. Because if all you cared about was keeping them out, you would have stopped after they backed off. But you didn't. You gave testimony. You helped build a case. You sent someone to Holt today, Rachel Voss. She called him an hour ago. Elena froze. How do you know that? Because I have sources. And because this is bigger than you think it is. Lena stepped closer. Dutch was part of a task force. Federal funding, minimal oversight, quotas to hit. When they couldn't meet those quotas legally, they started cutting corners, fake warrants, planted evidence, arrests that didn't hold up in court. And nobody questioned it because the people they targeted didn't have the resources to fight back. Until me. Until you. Lena's eyes were sharp. And now the whole thing's unraveling. But there are people who want it buried. People who benefited from the way things were. And they're going to push back. Elena's jaw tightened. Let them. That's easy to say when you're not the target. But if they come after you, really come after you, will you be ready? I've been ready my whole life, Lena smiled. Good. Because they're already starting. She pulled out her phone and showed Elena a screenshot. It was a forum post, some law enforcement message board. The thread was titled Elena Ward, Hero or Hypocrite, and the comments were brutal. Accusations of anti-cop bias, claims she'd fabricated evidence, threats disguised as hypotheticals. Elena read them without expression. Then she handed the phone back. People talk. Doesn't mean anything. It does when those people are cops who still have badges. Then they should be careful. Because I kept receipts on everything Dutch did, and if anyone else wants to test me, I'll do it again. Lena's smile widened. Can I quote you on that? No? Worth a shot. Lena tucked her phone away. Look, I know you don't want attention, but this story matters, and whether you like it or not, you're part of it. So if things get worse, if people start coming after you, call me. I'll make sure the truth gets out. She left her card on the doorframe and walked away. Elena stood there for a long moment, staring at the card. Then she went inside, locked the door, and threw the card in the trash. She didn't need a reporter, didn't need publicity, didn't need to be anyone's symbol. She just needed to survive. But survival, she was learning, wasn't a solo operation anymore. The next morning, Elena woke to 17 missed calls. Marissa, Holt, Kim. 2 unknown numbers, and one from Jay that made her stomach twist. She called Marissa first. Where the hell have you been? Marissa's voice was tight. Sleeping. What happened? Dutch's lawyer filed an appeal. Claims you coerced testimony, tampered with evidence, and conspired with federal agents to manufacture a case against his client. Elena sat up. That's insane. It's also strategic. They're trying to flip the narrative. Make you the villain. If they can discredit you, they can discredit the whole case. They have footage. They have the warrant. They have, I know, but perception matters. And right now there's a coordinated push to paint you as someone with an agenda. Marissa took a breath. Have you seen the news? Elena turned on the TV. A morning show was running a segment titled Vigilante Justice or Legal Overreach. The host was interviewing a former police chief who talked about the importance of respecting law enforcement, the dangers of anti-cop sentiment, and the need to question accusations that seem too convenient. This is garbage, Elena said. This is politics, and you're in the middle of it. Marissa's tone softened. Look, the appeal won't go anywhere. The evidence is too solid, but they're going to make your life hell in the process. Are you ready for that? Elena thought about Rachel Voss, about the forum posts, about the look in Dutch's eyes when she'd shut the door in his face. Yeah, she said. I'm ready. She hung up and called Holt. He answered on the first ring. Ward, you okay? Define okay. Fair point. You've seen the news? Just did. It's noise. Ignore it. We've got the case locked down. Dutch's appeal is desperation, not strategy. Marissa said they're coming after me personally. They are, but here's the thing. They can't touch you legally. Everything you did was above board, so they're going to try the court of public opinion instead. Discredit you, make you look unreliable, hope the pressure makes you back down. I'm not backing down. I know. That's why I'm calling. Holt paused. We're opening a broader investigation into the task force Dutch was part of. And we need witnesses, people who were targeted, people willing to testify. Rachel Voss called you. She did, and her case matches 12 others we've already found. Illegal warrants, seizures without cause, intimidation tactics. It's a pattern, and with your testimony as the foundation, we can build something that actually sticks. Elena rubbed her temples. You want me to testify again? I want you to help us finish what you started. I didn't start anything, I just didn't let them push me around. That's exactly what started it. Holt's voice was firm. Look, I get it. You don't want to be a symbol. You don't want attention, but you're already there, and you can either let them control the narrative, or you can help us make sure the truth wins. Elena stared at the TV, where the former police chief was still talking about respect and order and the dangers of jumping to conclusions. When do you need me? She asked. Next week, grand jury, closed session, just you, the prosecutors, and the evidence. I'll be there. She hung up and sat in silence. The apartment felt smaller than it used to, like the walls were closing in. She thought about calling Jay, thought about finally answering those texts, those voicemails, those missed calls that had been piling up for months. But she didn't, because Jay belonged to a version of her life that didn't exist anymore, a version where she could compartmentalize, where the past stayed in the past and the present stayed manageable. That version was gone. Her phone buzzed. Kim. Turn on channel 5. Now. Elena switched channels. The screen showed the front of Mercy General, her hospital. A reporter stood outside, microphone in hand, talking to the camera. Works here as an emergency room nurse. Colleagues describe her as dedicated and professional, but some are now questioning whether her involvement in the corruption case against Sergeant Dutch may have been motivated by personal grievances rather than legitimate concerns. The camera cut to an interview. A man Elena didn't recognize, someone in a suit claiming to be a hospital administrator, talking about how the hospital values all its employees but doesn't condone vigilante behavior or anti-law enforcement bias. Elena's phone rang. Kim. That's not one of our administrators, Kim said immediately. I don't know who that guy is, but he doesn't work here. Then why is he on TV claiming he does? I don't know, but administration is losing their minds. They're trying to figure out who he is and how he got on camera. Elena felt something cold settle in her chest. This is coordinated. What? The appeal, the news coverage, the fake administrator. Someone's running a campaign to discredit me, and they're doing it fast. Kim was quiet for a second. What are you going to do? My job, same as always. Elena, I'll be at work tonight. Tell administration to handle the PR. I'm not giving statements. She hung up before Kim could argue. Then she got dressed, grabbed her bag, and headed out. The hallway was empty. No reporters, no cops, no strangers waiting by her door. Just silence. For now. The drive to the hospital took her past 3 news vans parked on the street. Cameras ready. Reporters standing by. Waiting for her to walk past so they could shove microphones in her face and ask how it felt to be accused of fabricating evidence. Elena parked in the back lot and took the service entrance. She clocked in, tied her hair back, and stepped into the ER. The shift was brutal. 2 car accidents, 1 overdose, a stabbing, and a cardiac arrest that took 40 minutes to stabilize. Elena moved through it all on autopilot, hands steady, mind focused. But every time she passed a TV in the waiting room, she saw her own face staring back. Different channels, same story. The nurse who took down a cop. Hero or villain? You decide. By midnight, she was exhausted. She ducked into the break room for coffee and found Dr. Hassan already there, staring at his phone. You see this, he asked, turning the screen toward her. It was a tweet from a police union account. Elena Ward's vendetta against law enforcement puts all officers at risk. We stand with Sergeant Dutch and demand accountability for false accusations. Elena poured her coffee. Let them stand wherever they want. Hassan set his phone down. You know they're going to make this uglier, right? I know. And you're still going through with it? What's the alternative? Back down? Let them win? Hassan leaned against the counter. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you need to be ready for what's coming. Because this isn't just about you anymore. It's about everyone who's ever tried to hold bad cops accountable. And they're going to fight dirty. So will I. Hassan smiled, tired but genuine. Good, because we need more people like you. Elena didn't answer. She just drank her coffee and went back to work. The rest of the shift blurred together. Patients came and went, lives were saved and lost, the usual chaos. But underneath it all, Elena could feel the pressure building. Phone calls to hospital administration. Emails demanding statements. Reporters calling the front desk, asking for interviews. By the time she clocked out at 6 a.m., she was running on fumes. She walked to her car, started the engine, and pulled out of the lot. 3 blocks later, she noticed the headlights behind her. Same car, same distance, following. She turned left. The car turned left. She sped up. The car matched her speed. Elena's pulse didn't spike. It sharpened. She made 2 more turns, confirming the tail, then pulled into a 24-hour diner parking lot. The car drove past, slowing just enough for her to see the driver. Male, late 30s, buzz cut, the kind of look that screamed ex-military or current cop. She waited 5 minutes. The car didn't come back. But she knew what it meant. They were watching her now. Elena got out, walked into the diner, and sat at a booth near the window. A waitress came over, older woman, name tag reading Deb. Coffee? Please. Deb poured, then lingered. You okay, hun? You look like you've had a night. Something like that. Deb nodded knowingly. Well, you're safe here. Nobody bothers my customers. Elena managed a small smile. Thanks. She drank her coffee slowly, watching the parking lot. No cars, no movement. Just the early morning stillness. When she finished, she left cash on the table and walked back to her car. The drive home was quiet. No tails, no headlights. But the feeling didn't leave. The awareness that she was being tracked, monitored, measured. They wanted her to know. Wanted her to feel the pressure. It didn't work. Elena parked, climbed the stairs to her apartment, and stopped. The door was open. Not broken. Not forced. Just unlocked. She pulled out her phone, finger hovering over 911. Then she pushed the door open slowly. The apartment looked untouched. Nothing broken. Nothing missing. But on the kitchen counter, someone had left a single piece of paper. No envelope, no signature, just typed words. Drop the case or face the consequences. Last warning. Elena stared at it for a long moment. Then she took a photo, sent it to Holt and Marissa, and crumpled the paper into the trash. She locked the door, checked every room, and sat on the edge of her bed. Her hands were steady, her breathing was controlled. But inside, something cold and sharp was settling into place. They'd crossed a line, broken into her home, left a threat. Thought they could scare her into silence. They thought wrong. Elena pulled out her phone and scrolled to Jay's name. Her thumb hovered over the call button. Then she set the phone down and stared at the ceiling. She didn't need backup, didn't need help, didn't need anyone to fight her battles. But maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to do it alone. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We know where you live, we know where you work. Walk away while you still can. Elena deleted it without responding. Then her phone rang. Holt. I got your photo, he said. We're sending a team to dust for prints. Don't touch anything. Already sent the photo. That's all the evidence you need. Elena, someone broke into your home and threatened you. That's a federal crime. Add it to the list. Holt sighed. You need protection. I need them to stop underestimating me. They're not underestimating you. They're trying to break you before the grand jury. They can try. Damn it, Ward. Holt stopped. Took a breath. Look, I know you're tough. I know you've been through worse, but this isn't Afghanistan. You can't just power through and hope for the best. These people are connected. They have resources, and they're willing to use them. So am I. Silence. Then Holt said quietly, "What does that mean?" "It means I'm done playing defense. If they want to come after me, fine, but I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what they're doing and why." "How?" Elena thought about Lena Ortiz, the reporter who'd left her card, the one who wanted the story. "I'll figure it out," she said. She hung up and pulled Lena's card from the trash. It was crumpled, stained with coffee grounds, but the number was still readable. She dialed. Lena answered on the second ring. "Ortiz." "It's Elena Ward. You said if things got worse, I should call you." "I did." "Things just got worse." Lena met her at a coffee shop 2 miles from Elena's apartment. Not the nice kind with exposed brick and artisan pastries, the kind that stayed open all night because the owner couldn't afford to close. Fluorescent lights, cracked vinyl booths, coffee that tasted like it had been sitting since yesterday. Perfect. Lena was already there when Elena walked in, laptop open, notebook beside it. She looked up and her expression shifted, concern mixed with something harder. Professional curiosity. "Show me," she said. Elena pulled out her phone and showed her the photo of the note, then the text. Lena's jaw tightened as she read. "You report this?" "Sent it to the feds and my lawyer." "Good." Lena pulled out her own phone and took photos of Elena's screen. "Now tell me everything that happened today, start to finish." Elena did. The fake administrator on TV, the coordinated media push, the car that followed her, the unlocked door, the note. Lena listened without interrupting, typing notes as Elena talked. When Elena finished, Lena sat back and stared at her laptop. "Okay, here's what I think is happening. Dutch's people know the appeal won't work. The evidence is too solid. So they're running a parallel strategy, destroy your credibility publicly while intimidating you privately. If they can make you look unstable or biased, they create reasonable doubt. If they can scare you into backing off, the whole case weakens." "I'm not backing off. I know. That's why I'm going to help you flip this." Lena turned her laptop around. The screen showed a draft article. The headline read, "Federal Witness Threatened After Exposing Police Corruption." Elena read the first paragraph. It laid out everything, the break-in, the threats, the coordinated media campaign. It named names. It connected dots. "You can't publish this," Elena said. "Why not?" "Because it'll make things worse. They'll come after me harder. They're already coming after you as hard as they can. The question is whether you fight back in the shadows or in the open." Lena leaned forward. "Right now, they control the narrative. They're painting you as someone with an agenda, someone unreliable. But if we publish this, with evidence, with context, with your side of the story, we change the conversation. We put them on defense." Elena thought about Rachel Voss, about the forum posts, about the man in the buzz cut following her car. "What do you need from me?" she asked. "An interview, on record. Your words, your perspective. I'll handle the rest." Elena hesitated. Going public meant stepping fully into the spotlight, meant becoming a target in ways she hadn't been before, meant opening herself up to scrutiny, criticism, attacks. But staying silent meant letting them win. "Okay," she said. "Let's do it." They talked for 2 hours. Lena asked questions, some she'd expected, some she hadn't, about her time in the service, about why she became a nurse, about what went through her mind when Dutch showed up at her door. Elena answered honestly, without embellishment, just the facts, the way she'd been trained. When they finished, Lena closed her laptop. "This goes live tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., before the news cycle starts. Are you ready for what happens after?" "No," Elena said, "but I'll handle it." Lena smiled, tired but real. "You're either the bravest person I've met or the craziest." "Probably both." Elena drove home as the sun started creeping over the horizon. The city looked different in early light, softer, quieter, like it was holding its breath. She parked in her usual spot and sat in the car for a moment, staring at her building. Her phone rang. Jay. She stared at the screen, heart doing something complicated in her chest. Then she answered. "Hey," she said. "Hey." Jay's voice was low, careful. "I heard what's happening. Are you okay?" "Define okay." "Elena, I'm fine, handling it." Silence. Then Jay said, "You don't have to do this alone." "I'm not alone. I've got lawyers, feds, a reporter who actually gives a damn." "That's not what I mean." Elena closed her eyes. "I know what you mean. And I can't. Not right now." "When?" "I don't know." More silence. Then Jay said quietly, "I'm not going anywhere. When you're ready, I'm here." The line went dead. Elena sat there for a long time, phone in her hand, staring at nothing. Then she got out and went inside. The apartment felt different now. Violated. Like the walls couldn't protect her anymore. She checked every room again, locked every window, wedged a chair under the door handle. Then she sat on her couch and waited for morning. Sleep didn't come. At 5:30, her phone buzzed. "Lena." "Articles live. Brace yourself." Elena opened the link. The article was there, front page of the Chronicle's website. Her photo, pulled from hospital records, next to the headline. She read it twice, checking for errors, for exaggerations, for anything that would give them ammunition. It was clean, factual, devastating. Within 20 minutes, it had 500 shares. By 6, it was trending on local Twitter. By 7, national outlets were picking it up. Elena's phone started ringing. Unknown numbers, reporters, news stations. She let them all go to voicemail. Then Marissa called. "Have you seen the news?" "I've seen the article." "Not that. Turn on Channel 8. Elena found the remote and switched on the TV. The morning show was running a segment on the article. The hosts looked uncomfortable, like they'd been caught flat-footed. One of them was reading a prepared statement from the police union, calling the article inflammatory and irresponsible. The other was interviewing Holt via video call. "Special Agent Holt, can you confirm that Ms. Ward received threats after agreeing to testify?" Holt's expression was stone. "I can confirm that we're investigating multiple incidents of witness intimidation related to this case, and I can confirm that we take those threats very seriously." "Is Miss Ward in protective custody?" "Ms. Ward is a private citizen exercising her constitutional rights. We're providing appropriate support." "The police union has accused her of fabricating these threats to gain sympathy. How do you respond?" Holt's eyes went cold. "We have physical evidence, digital evidence, and eyewitness testimony. Anyone suggesting this is fabricated is either misinformed or deliberately lying." The host shifted uncomfortably. "Strong words." "Strong situation." Elena's phone rang again. "Kim." "Please tell me you're not coming in today," Kim said. "I'm scheduled." "Elena, there are reporters camped outside the hospital. Security's trying to keep them off the property, but they're everywhere. Administration is freaking out." "Let them freak out. I'm not hiding." "Nobody's asking you to hide. But maybe take a day. Let this settle." "It's not going to settle. Not until it's finished," Kim sighed. "Fine. But use the service entrance and don't talk to anyone." Elena hung up and got ready for work. She dressed in scrubs, pulled her hair back, and grabbed her bag. Then she walked out to her car and drove to the hospital. Kim was right. News vans lined the street. Cameras tracked her as she drove past. She used the service entrance, clocked in, and headed straight to the ER. The shift was worse than she'd expected. Not because of the work. Work was work. But because everyone was watching her. Patients, families, other nurses. Even the doctors looked at her differently, like she'd become something other than what she was. She ignored it and focused on the job. Trauma Bay 2 needed restocking. Bay 5 had a patient with chest pain. Bay 7 was prepping for a possible stroke. She moved through it all mechanically, hands doing what they'd been trained to do. Dr. Hassan found her during a lull. "Administration wants to see you." "When?" "Now." Elena followed him to the administrative wing, a place she'd only been once before, during her initial hiring. The offices here were nicer, carpet instead of linoleum, actual artwork on the walls. A receptionist who smiled like she meant it. "Ms. Ward," the receptionist said, "they're waiting for you in conference room B." Elena walked in and found 3 people sitting at a long table. She recognized one, Director of Nursing, Margaret Reeves. The other 2 were strangers. One was a man in a suit who looked like he billed by the hour. The other was a woman with a tablet and the kind of smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Please, sit," Margaret said. Elena sat. The man in the suit spoke first. "Miss Ward, I'm Thomas Brandt, Hospital Legal Counsel. This is Diane Foster, our Director of Public Relations. Elena nodded. What's this about? I think you know, Diane said. Her smile never wavered. Your involvement in the Dutch case has put the hospital in a difficult position. How so? We're receiving calls from donors, board members, community leaders. Some are supportive, others are concerned. They're questioning whether an employee who's become the center of a media firestorm is the right fit for a healthcare institution that values neutrality and professionalism. Elena's jaw tightened. I didn't ask to be the center of anything. I just didn't let corrupt cops into my apartment. We understand that, Thomas said, and we're not questioning your actions. But we do need to discuss how this impacts the hospital. What are you asking me to do? Diane leaned forward. We're asking you to consider taking a leave of absence. Paid, of course, just until the media attention dies down. No, Margaret blinked. Elena? No, Elena repeated. I'm not taking a leave. I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not going to hide because other people are uncomfortable. Thomas exchanged a glance with Diane. Ms. Ward, we're trying to protect you and the hospital. You're trying to distance yourselves. There's a difference. Diane's smile finally cracked. You're making this very difficult. Good. Margaret stood. Elena, please, think about this. The hospital has to consider its reputation, its relationships with law enforcement, its standing in the community. Then the hospital should stand with people who do the right thing. Elena stood. I'm not taking a leave. If you want me gone, you'll have to fire me. She walked out before they could respond. Her hands were shaking now, not from fear, but from anger. She made it to the break room, locked the door, and leaned against the wall. Her chest felt tight. Her breathing was shallow. A knock. Elena? Kim's voice. Elena unlocked the door. Kim took one look at her and closed the door behind her. What happened? They want me to take a leave of absence. Shit. I said no. Kim sat down heavily. You know they're going to push harder, right? They've got the board breathing down their necks, donors threatening to pull funding. They're going to find a way to get rid of you. Let them try. Elena, I'm serious. You need to be strategic here. If they fire you, you lose health insurance, income, everything. Is that really worth it? Elena looked at her. What do you think I should do? I think you should take the leave. Let things cool down. Then come back when the dust settles. And if the dust doesn't settle? Kim didn't have an answer for that. Elena's phone buzzed. Holt. Need to talk. Call me. She called him back from the parking lot. What's wrong? Grand jury's been moved up, tomorrow instead of next week. Why? Pressure from above. They want this case closed before it gets messier. Can you be there? What time? 9 a.m. Federal Courthouse. Bring your documentation. I'll be there. She hung up and stared at the hospital. Through the window, she could see people moving. Nurses, doctors, patients. The machine kept running, same as always, whether she was part of it or not. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then she did. Elena Ward? The voice was male, unfamiliar. Who is this? Someone who wants to help you. Meet me at the Riverside Park Pavilion in 1 hour. Come alone. You want to know who's really behind the threats? Who's coordinating the campaign against you? I can tell you, but only in person. 1 hour. The line went dead. Elena stared at the phone. Every instinct screamed trap. Anonymous call. Isolated location. Instruction to come alone. Textbook setup. But if there was even a chance of getting real information, of finding out who was pulling the strings, could she afford to ignore it? She called Holt back. Voicemail. She called Marissa. Same. She looked at the time. 45 minutes until the meeting. She got in her car and drove. Riverside Park was on the edge of the city, where the industrial district met what used to be green space before the factories moved in. The pavilion was old concrete and rusted metal, graffiti covering most surfaces. A place where people went to be forgotten. Elena parked and checked her surroundings. 2 other cars in the lot, both empty. No pedestrians, no joggers. Just wind rustling through dead grass. She got out and walked toward the pavilion. Her phone was in her pocket, already recording. If this went bad, at least there'd be evidence. A figure was waiting under the pavilion's roof. Male, mid-40s, windbreaker and jeans, hands in his pockets. He didn't look like a cop, didn't look like a thug, just looked tired. "You came," he said. "Who are you?" "Name's Patrick Morris. I was part of Dutch's task force until 2 months ago." Elena stopped 10 feet away. "Why'd you leave?" "Because I got tired of breaking the law." Patrick pulled his hands out of his pockets, slowly, showing they were empty. "I joined the force because I wanted to help people. Thought the task force was doing good work, but Dutch, he had other priorities." "Like what?" "Money. Quotas. Making himself look good. We were supposed to be targeting major drug operations. Instead, we were hitting small-time dealers, low-level users, anyone who couldn't fight back, padding the numbers. And when we couldn't find enough real targets, we made them up. Fake warrants. Fake everything. Evidence planted, reports falsified, testimony coached. It was systematic." Patrick's face was gray. "I kept my mouth shut for a year, told myself I was just following orders. Then Dutch went after that nurse, you, and I realized it wasn't going to stop, so I quit." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because they're coming after you, hard, and you need to know who's really in charge. Dutch is in prison. Dutch is a foot soldier. The guy calling the shots is Captain Raymond Voss. He runs the whole operation. Dutch, the task force, the media campaign, all of it. And he's got protection. People in the DA's office, people in City Hall, people with money and influence who benefit from keeping things the way they are." Elena's mind raced. "You have proof?" "I have recordings, emails, financial records, everything you need to bury him." Patrick pulled a flash drive from his pocket. "But I can't go public. I've got a family, a kid. If Voss finds out I'm the leak, he'll destroy me." "Then why give it to me?" "Because you're already a target. You've got nothing left to lose, and you're the only one brave enough to use it." He held out the flash drive. Elena stared at it. This was it. The evidence that could break the whole thing wide open, but taking it meant painting an even bigger target on her back, meant going up against people with real power, meant risking everything. She took the drive. "Thank you," she said. Patrick nodded. "Be careful. Voss doesn't play fair, and he's got a long reach." He walked away. Elena watched him get in his car and drive off. Then she looked at the flash drive in her hand, a small piece of plastic that weighed almost nothing and changed everything. She got back in her car and drove straight to Holt's office. He was there when she arrived, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "What's this?" he asked when she handed him the drive. "Evidence. From someone on the inside. He says it ties Captain Voss to the whole operation." Holt plugged the drive into his computer. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the files. Emails between Voss and Dutch. Financial records showing payments from seized assets funneled into personal accounts. Recordings of Voss giving orders to falsify reports. "Jesus," Holt breathed. This is everything. "Can you use it?" "Can I use it? This is enough to take down half the department." Holt looked at her. "Where did you get this?" "Patrick Morris, former task force member. He wants immunity." "He'll get it. Hell, he'll get a medal." Holt started copying files. "This changes everything. The grand jury tomorrow. We can present this. Expand the scope. Go after Voss and everyone connected to him." "What about the threats? The intimidation?" "If Voss is behind it, and based on this, he is, then we can charge him directly. Witness tampering, obstruction of justice, conspiracy." Holt's expression was fierce. "We've got him." Elena felt something loosen in her chest. "So it's over." "Not yet, but soon." Holt stood. "Go home. Get some rest. Tomorrow we finish this." Elena drove home in a daze. The streets looked the same but felt different, like the pressure had shifted, like she could finally breathe. She parked and climbed the stairs to her apartment. The hallway was empty, quiet, normal. She unlocked her door and stepped inside. The lights were already on. Captain Raymond Voss was sitting on her couch, hands folded in his lap, eyes cold and calm. "Hello, Ms. Ward," he said. "We need to talk." Elena's hand was already moving toward her phone before her brain finished processing what she was seeing. Voss didn't move, just sat there, watching her with the kind of patience that came from holding all the cards. "I wouldn't," he said quietly. She stopped. "How did you get in here?" "Same way your last visitors did. Locks are suggestions, Ms. Ward. You should know that by now." He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit, please. Elena didn't move. Her eyes scanned the room, calculating distances, exits, options. The door was 15 feet behind her. The kitchen was 10 feet to her left. Voss looked unarmed, but that didn't mean anything. I'm not here to hurt you, Voss said, reading her thoughts. If I wanted that, you wouldn't have made it through the door. Comforting. It should be, because it means we can have a civilized conversation. His voice was calm, almost friendly, like they were discussing the weather. You've made things very complicated, for everyone. Good. Voss smiled, thin, controlled. You think you're winning. I understand that. You got Dutch convicted. You exposed some problems in the department. You became a symbol, but you're not seeing the bigger picture. Then explain it to me. The task force wasn't corrupt. It was efficient. We cleared cases. We got drugs off the streets. We made the city safer. Did we cut some corners? Yes. Did we bend some rules occasionally, but the results speak for themselves. Elena's jaw tightened. You planted evidence. You falsified warrants. You destroyed innocent people's lives. We targeted criminals who would have walked otherwise. Technicalities, loopholes. The system is broken, Ms. Ward. We just found ways to work around it. By breaking the law. By getting results. Voss leaned forward slightly. You know what happens when Dutch's conviction stands? When the task force gets disbanded, crime goes up, cases go cold. The people we were protecting, the real victims, they suffer, all because you decided to make a point. The point is that you don't get to decide who deserves rights and who doesn't. Voss studied her for a long moment. You really believe that, don't you? That the system works, that justice is blind, that if everyone just follows the rules, everything will be fair. I believe people like you shouldn't have badges. People like me keep this city from falling apart. His tone shifted, hardening. But you don't care about that. You care about being right, about proving you can't be pushed around. Well, congratulations. You won that fight. Now it's time to walk away. Elena crossed her arms. And if I don't? Then you lose everything. Voss pulled out his phone and showed her a photo. It was Jay, sitting in a car, talking on the phone, completely unaware they were being watched. Captain Jeffrey Rains, Army Intelligence, currently stationed at Fort Carson. Old friend of yours, I'm told. Elena's blood went cold. You stay away from him. That depends on you. See, Captain Rains has a very promising career ahead of him. Awards, commendations, on track for major. It would be a shame if certain questions started being asked about his relationship with you, about whether he knew what you were planning when you went after Dutch, about whether he provided assistance, resources, information, anything that could be construed as using military assets for personal gain. He didn't do anything. I know, but the investigation alone would destroy him, end his career, ruin his life. Voss put the phone away. And that's just one person. I can do the same to your lawyer, your reporter friend. Anyone who's helped you, I can make them all pay for your choices. Elena's hands clenched into fists. You're threatening innocent people. I'm giving you a choice. Walk away, drop the testimony, tell the grand jury you were mistaken, let this whole thing fade, and everyone stays safe. Keep pushing, and I start making calls. Holt has the flash drive. He has everything. Voss's expression didn't change. Patrick Morris is currently in protective custody. Federal witness protection, very secure. But accidents happen, files get lost, witnesses recant. The system has ways of correcting itself. Elena's mind raced. Voss wasn't bluffing. She could see it in his eyes. He had the power to do exactly what he was threatening. And he would, without hesitation. But backing down now meant everything she'd fought for died with it. Meant Dutch would appeal successfully. Meant Rachel Voss and everyone else who'd been targeted would get nothing. Meant the system would keep grinding people down while men like Voss stayed in power. No, she said. Voss raised an eyebrow. Excuse me? I said no. Do whatever you're going to do. I'm testifying tomorrow. You're willing to sacrifice everyone around you? For what? Pride? For the truth. Voss stood slowly. You're making a mistake. Probably. But it's mine to make. He walked toward the door, then stopped. You know what your problem is, Ms. Ward. You think courage is enough. that standing your ground means you win. But this isn't a war zone. There are no medals here, just consequences. I've lived through consequences before. Not like these. He opened the door. You have until midnight to change your mind. After that, I start making calls. He left. Elena stood frozen for a full minute, heart hammering, adrenaline flooding her system. Then she grabbed her phone and called Holt. Voss was just here. In my apartment. He threatened Jay, threatened everyone. Holt swore. Are you okay? For now. But he wants me to recant my testimony. Said if I don't, he'll destroy everyone who helped me. He's desperate. That's good. Means the evidence is solid. He said Patrick Morris might recant, that files might disappear. Morris is locked down tight, and I've already sent copies of everything to 3 different offices. Voss can't make this go away. Holt paused. But he can make things difficult. I'm sending a team to your apartment. Stay there. Don't open the door for anyone. What about Jay? I'll make some calls, get him warned, but Elena, Voss isn't going to follow through. He's betting on fear, on you folding before he has to actually do anything. And if he's not bluffing? Holt's voice went quiet. Then we deal with it. But you can't let him control you. Elena hung up and sat on the edge of her couch, staring at the spot where Voss had been sitting. Her apartment felt contaminated now, like the air itself had been poisoned. Her phone buzzed. Jay. We need to talk. Now. She called him. He answered immediately. Someone just called my CO, Jay said, voice tight. Anonymous tip. Said I was using military resources to help a civilian in a criminal case. They're opening an investigation. Elena's stomach dropped. Voss? Who? The guy running the whole operation. He came to my apartment, threatened to destroy you if I don't back down. Jay was silent for a long moment. Then he said, Don't back down. Jeffrey, but I'm serious. Don't you dare back down because of me. I can handle an investigation. I've got clean records, clean conduct reports. They'll find nothing because there's nothing to find. It'll still hurt your career. I don't care. You think I'm going to let some dirty cop intimidate you into silence after everything you've been through? His voice softened. I didn't serve with you in Kandahar to watch you fold now. Elena closed her eyes. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just finish what you started, and when this is over, we'll talk, really talk, about everything we've been avoiding. Okay. Stay safe, Elena. The line went dead. Elena sat there, phone in her hand, feeling the weight of it all pressing down. Every choice she'd made had led here. Every stand she'd taken had consequences rippling outward, touching people she cared about. But Voss had miscalculated. He'd thought threatening the people around her would break her resolve. Instead, it had clarified everything. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about making sure people like Voss couldn't keep using fear as a weapon. Her phone buzzed again. Marissa. Just got word. Voss filed an emergency motion to delay the grand jury hearing. Claims new evidence needs to be reviewed. Elena typed back. Can he do that? He can try. But Holt's fighting it. Should know by morning. Elena set her phone down and tried to sleep. Couldn't. Her mind kept replaying Voss's words, his threats, his calm certainty that he'd win. She got up, paced, drank water, sat back down. The night dragged on like a wound that wouldn't close. At 2 a.m., she gave up on sleep entirely and made coffee. Strong, black, the kind that tasted like batteries but kept you functional. She sat at her kitchen table going through her documentation one more time. Every receipt, every photo, every email, making sure nothing was missing, nothing could be twisted. Her phone rang at 4 a.m. Holt. Motion denied. Grand jury proceeds at 9. Voss tried every angle, claimed procedural violations, questioned the evidence chain, even suggested you were mentally unstable. Judge shut it all down. Good. But Elena, he's going to be there at the courthouse. He's still a captain. He has the right to observe, and he's going to try to intimidate you one last time. Let him try. There's something else. Patrick Morris called me an hour ago. Said someone approached him, offered him money to change his testimony. A lot of money. Elena's grip tightened on the phone. What did he say? He told them to go to hell. Then he called me. We're moving him to a more secure location. Holt paused. But it confirms what we already knew. They're panicking, making desperate moves, which means you need to be extra careful. I will be. Get some rest. You're going to need it. Rest didn't come. Elena showered, changed into clean clothes, not scrubs, a simple blouse and slacks, and stared at herself in the mirror. She looked tired, worn, like someone who'd been fighting too long, but her eyes were clear, focused. She was ready. At 8 a.m., 2 federal agents knocked on her door, young, alert, armed. "Miss Ward, we're your escort." She nodded and followed them downstairs. They drove in an unmarked sedan navigating through morning traffic toward the federal courthouse downtown. Elena watched the city pass by, people going to work, grabbing coffee, living their lives. None of them knowing what was about to happen inside that building. The courthouse was a fortress of concrete and glass. Security was tight, metal detectors, ID checks, bag searches. The agents led her through a side entrance, bypassing the public areas, straight to a secured floor. Holt was waiting outside the grand jury room, dark circles under his eyes, coffee cup in hand. He looked like he'd been up all night too. "You ready?" he asked. "As I'll ever be. Just tell the truth. Answer their questions. Don't embellish, don't speculate. Just facts." "I know." Holt hesitated. "Voss is down the hall, in the observation gallery. He can't enter the grand jury room, but he'll see you walk in." "Good. Let him see." Elena walked down the corridor. Voss was standing near a window, arms crossed, watching her approach. He looked different in the morning light, older, harder, like someone who'd stopped pretending to be anything other than what he was. Their eyes met. He didn't smile, didn't threaten, just looked at her like she was already dead and didn't know it yet. Elena walked past him without breaking stride. The grand jury room was smaller than she'd expected. 16 jurors sat in 2 rows, faces neutral, waiting. A prosecutor stood at a podium, organizing notes. A court reporter sat ready at her machine. Elena took the witness stand. The prosecutor introduced himself. Marcus Webb, Assistant U.S. Attorney. Mid-40s, gray at the temples, eyes that had seen too many cases like this one. "Miss Ward, thank you for being here. I'm going to ask you about the events of March 15th, when officers from the Metro Police Department attempted to execute a search warrant at your residence. Can you describe what happened that morning?" Elena took a breath and began. She laid out everything: the knock at the door, Dutch's aggression, the warrant with the wrong apartment number, the threats, the pattern that emerged afterward. She kept her voice steady, her facts precise. Webb asked clarifying questions. The jurors took notes. Then Webb pulled up the flash drive contents on a screen. "Ms. Ward, are you familiar with these documents?" "Yes. They were provided to me by Patrick Morris, a former member of Captain Voss's task force." "And what do these documents show?" "A systematic pattern of falsified warrants, planted evidence, and financial misconduct, all coordinated by Captain Raymond Voss." One of the jurors raised a hand. "How do you know Captain Voss was directly involved?" Webb answered, "We have emails, recorded conversations, and financial records directly linking Captain Voss to these activities. Mr. Morris has also provided sworn testimony corroborating Miss Ward's account." The questioning continued for 2 hours. Every detail examined, every claim verified. Elena answered every question, provided every piece of context, held nothing back. When it was over, Webb thanked her and dismissed her from the stand. She walked out of the grand jury room and found Holt waiting in the hallway. He looked tense. "How'd it go?" "I told them everything." "Good. Now they deliberate. Should have a decision by end of day." Elena nodded. Her legs felt shaky. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind exhaustion. "What happens now?" "Now you go somewhere safe and wait. I'll call you the second I hear anything." The agents drove her back to her apartment. She climbed the stairs, unlocked her door, and stepped inside. The apartment was empty, silent, safe for the moment. She collapsed on the couch and closed her eyes. Her phone woke her 3 hours later. Holt. Grand jury just handed down indictments. Voss, 3 other captains, 7 officers. Charges include conspiracy, evidence tampering, witness intimidation, fraud, and civil rights violations. Warrants are being executed now. Elena sat up. "They're arresting him?" As we speak, along with everyone else involved, federal marshals are coordinating with local PD to make sure there are no leaks, no warnings. They're getting all of them at once. She didn't feel relief, just numbness. What about Jay, the investigation? Already dropped. Once Voss got indicted, the complaint disappeared. Turns out it was filed under a fake name. No basis, no merit, just intimidation. And Rachel Voss? All the other people who were targeted? Cases are being reviewed. Charges dropped. Property returned. It'll take time, but they're getting justice. Elena closed her eyes. Thank you. Thank you. None of this happens without you. You know that, right? You could have walked away a dozen times. Let them intimidate you. Let the system protect itself. But you didn't. I just didn't want them in my apartment. Holt laughed. Short, sharp, genuine. Yeah, sure, that's all it was. She hung up and sat in the quiet. Outside, the city continued its rhythm. Cars honked. People shouted. Sirens wailed in the distance, maybe heading to arrest the people who'd thought they were untouchable. Her phone buzzed. Kim. News is everywhere. Channel 5 just showed footage of Voss being walked out in handcuffs. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Hospital's calling an all-staff meeting tomorrow. Administration wants to make a statement. Think they're going to apologize for trying to force you out. I don't need an apology. Just want to work. You're going to get both. See you tomorrow? See you tomorrow. Elena set her phone down and walked to the window. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. Beautiful, ordinary, the kind of thing she used to notice before everything got complicated. Her phone rang. Lena. You see the news? Lena asked. Parts of it. Front page tomorrow. Police captain and 7 officers arrested in federal corruption probe. I'm writing the follow-up now. Any comment? No. Fair enough. But off the record, how does it feel? Elena thought about that. Exhausting. I bet. Lena paused. For what it's worth, you did something most people wouldn't have the guts to do. You stood up when it mattered. That counts. Thanks. After she hung up, Elena made dinner, something simple that didn't require thought. Scrambled eggs and toast. She ate it slowly, washing the dishes by hand afterward, letting the routine ground her. Normal tasks, normal life. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Miss Ward? A woman's voice, older, shaking slightly. Yes? This is Rachel Voss, the woman you helped. I just wanted to say, they called me an hour ago, said they're returning my son's things, his Xbox, my phone, everything, and they dropped the false report charges. Her voice cracked. You saved us. You saved so many people. I don't know how to thank you. Elena's throat tightened. You don't have to thank me. You were brave enough to keep fighting. That's what mattered. I only fought because you showed me I could. Rachel took a shaky breath. Thank you. For everything. The line went dead. Elena stood at the window, watching the last of the sunset disappear. She thought about all the people she'd never meet who'd been helped by what she'd done. All the cases being reviewed, all the lives being put back together, piece by fragile piece. The next morning, she drove to the hospital. The news vans were still there, but fewer now. The story was shifting. Voss's arrest had become the headline, pushing her out of the spotlight. She used the main entrance this time, walked through the lobby with her head up. A few people stared, most didn't. She clocked in and headed to the ER. Kim was waiting at the nurse's station. Welcome back. I never left. Fair point. Kim handed her a tablet. Bay 2 needs vitals. Bay 4 has a kid with a broken arm. Bay 6 is all yours. Elena took the tablet and got to work. The rhythm came back immediately. Patients, procedures, problems to solve. The world that made sense. The world she understood. Dr. Hassan found her during lunch. Administration wants to see you again. Elena sighed. Let me guess. Another meeting about optics. Actually, they want to give you an award. Employee of the Year for courage and integrity. Hassan's expression was wry. Turns out standing up to corruption is good PR, after all. I don't want an award. I know, but you're getting one anyway. Try to look happy about it. The ceremony was scheduled for the following week. Elena stood on a small stage in the hospital auditorium, accepting a plaque she didn't want while people she barely knew applauded. Margaret Reeves gave a speech about the hospital's commitment to doing the right thing, convenient, considering they'd tried to push her out 2 weeks ago. Thomas Brandt talked about integrity. Diane Foster smiled for the cameras. Elena said thank you, shook the necessary hands, and got off the stage as fast as possible. Afterward, Kim cornered her near the exit. "You handled that well." "I hated every second." "I know, that's why it was impressive." Kim smiled. "You heading home?" "Yeah, long day." "They're all long days here, but you're good at them." Elena drove home as the sun set again. Another day. Another shift survived. The apartment was quiet when she walked in, but not empty. Jay had texted that he was driving up, would arrive around 9. She'd given him a key 2 days ago. Small step, terrifying step, but a step. She showered, changed into comfortable clothes, and was making tea when her doorbell rang. Too early for Jay. Elena checked the peephole. A man she didn't recognize, mid-30s, suit, briefcase. He didn't look like a reporter, didn't look like a cop, looked like someone who worked in offices where decisions got made. She opened the door 6 inches. "Can I help you?" "Ms. Ward, my name is David Garrett. I work for the Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division." He showed her credentials. They looked legitimate. "I was hoping we could talk about your testimony. And what comes next?" Elena's guard went up immediately. "What comes next is trial. I already gave my statement." "I know. And it was excellent. Very thorough." Garrett's smile was professional, practiced. "But there's a larger pattern here. Voss wasn't operating in isolation. We're finding similar task forces in other cities, same methods, same financial irregularities. We think it's coordinated." "Then investigate it." "We are. But we need witnesses. People willing to testify at a federal level. People with credibility and courage." He paused. "People like you." Elena's jaw tightened. "I'm a nurse, not a professional witness. You're someone who stood up when it mattered. That's valuable. Rare, actually." Garrett pulled a card from his pocket. "I'm not asking for an answer now. Just think about it. If you're interested in helping us expand this investigation, call me." He left the card on the doorframe and walked away. Elena stared at it for a long moment. Then she picked it up and went inside. She was making dinner when Jay arrived. He looked exhausted, the kind of tired that came from driving all day, but his smile was real when he saw her. "Hey," he said. "Hey." He walked in, dropped his bag by the door, and pulled her into a hug. She let herself lean into it just for a moment. Then she stepped back. "You hungry?" "Starving." They ate together, talking about small things. His drive, her shift, the weather. Normal conversation, normal life. It felt strange, fragile, like something that could break if either of them pushed too hard. After dinner, Jay helped with the dishes. Then he noticed the card on the counter. "What's this?" "Department of Justice. They want me to testify in a bigger investigation. Apparently Voss was part of something larger." Jay picked up the card, read it, set it down. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know. Part of me wants to say yes. Finish what I started. But another part just wants to be done. Go back to work. Live my life." "Both are valid." "I know." Elena leaned against the counter. "But I keep thinking about Rachel Voss. About all the other people who got crushed by this system. If I can help stop it from happening again. Shouldn't I?" Jay was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Only if you want to. Not because you feel obligated. Not because you're the only one who can. Just because you want to." Elena looked at him. "What would you do?" "Honestly, I'd probably say yes, but I'm not you. And you've already done more than most people would." He moved closer. "Whatever you decide, I'm with you. Whether that's testifying again or walking away. Your choice." Elena felt something settle in her chest. "Thank you." They talked until midnight, then Jay headed to the guest room. Elena lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Garrett's card, about the investigation, about whether she had anything left to give. Her phone buzzed. Holt. Voss arraignment happened this afternoon. Bail denied. He's going to prison pending trial. Thought you'd want to know. She typed back. Good. You okay? Getting there. DOJ contacted you yet? How did you know? Because I recommended you. They need witnesses for the broader case. You're the best they've got. Elena stared at the message. You could have warned me. Would you have answered if I had? Fair point. She set the phone down and closed her eyes. Sleep came easier that night. The next few days passed in a blur of work and normalcy. Shifts at the hospital, dinners with Jay, calls from Marissa updating her on the case. Voss's trial was set for 3 months out. The other officers were taking plea deals, agreeing to testify against him in exchange for reduced sentences. The system was working. Slowly, imperfectly, but working. On Thursday, Elena called Garrett. I'll do it, she said. Testify in the broader investigation, but I have conditions. Name them. I keep working. I don't become some full-time witness. And if anyone I care about gets threatened because of this, I'm out. Agreed. We'll make it work around your schedule, and we'll provide security if needed. When do you need me? Next month. Preliminary hearings. After that, we'll see where it goes. Elena hung up and stared out her window. The city looked the same as it always had, but something had shifted. She'd gone from someone trying to survive to someone actively fighting back. From defense to offense. It felt right. That night, Jay made dinner. Actual dinner. Not scrambled eggs, but pasta with vegetables and bread that smelled like it came from a real bakery. They ate at her small kitchen table, talking about his upcoming deployment, her schedule, the logistics of making this work long distance. We'll figure it out, Jay said. We've handled worse. Have we? He smiled. We survived Kandahar. We can survive anything. After dinner, they sat on the couch. Jay put on a movie Elena had never heard of. She fell asleep 20 minutes in, head on his shoulder, breathing steady. When she woke up 2 hours later, Jay was still there, still watching, still present. Sorry, she said. I'm terrible company. You're exhausted. It's allowed. Elena sat up, rubbing her eyes. I should probably sleep in an actual bed. Probably. She stood, then hesitated. Thank you for being here, for not pushing, for just being. Jay stood too. That's what this is. We show up, we stay, we figure it out as we go. Elena kissed him, quick, tentative, testing. He kissed back, gentle and careful. Then she pulled away. Good night. Good night. She went to bed and slept through the night for the first time in weeks. The following week, Elena was restocking Trauma Bay 3 when her phone rang. Private number. She almost didn't answer, then she did. Elena Ward. The voice was unfamiliar. Male, calm, professional. You don't know me, but I know you, and I know what you did to Raymond Voss. Elena's blood went cold. Who is this? Someone who wants to make you an offer. Voss was a useful tool, but tools can be replaced. You, on the other hand, you're something different, resilient, principled, effective. A pause. We could use someone like you. We? People who understand that the system is broken, that sometimes rules need to be bent, that results matter more than methods. Another pause. You proved you can't be intimidated, can't be bought, can't be broken. That's valuable. I'm not interested. You will be. When you see how deep this goes, when you realize Voss was just one piece of a much larger operation, when you understand that taking him down didn't fix anything, it just created a vacancy. Elena's hand tightened on the phone. What are you talking about? You'll find out soon enough. The DOJ investigation you agreed to help with, it's bigger than they told you, bigger than Voss, bigger than one city's police department. And the people at the top, the ones really running things, they're not going to let a nurse from Millbrook tear it all down. Watch me. The voice laughed, soft, amused. I like you, Ms. Ward. You've got fire. But fire burns out eventually. And when it does, when you realize you're in over your head, call this number. We'll be waiting. The line went dead. Elena stood frozen in the trauma bay, phone in her hand, heart pounding. She looked at the call log. Private number. Untraceable. She called Holt immediately. Someone just called me, warned me about the DOJ investigation, said Voss was part of something bigger, tried to recruit me. Holt swore. Did they identify themselves? No, just said I'd understand soon enough. What the hell is going on? Holt was quiet for a long moment. Meet me tomorrow. My office, 9 a.m. There's something you need to know. Tell me now. Not over the phone. Tomorrow. Trust me. He hung up. Elena stood there, staring at her phone, feeling the ground shift beneath her feet again. Voss was in prison. The task force was disbanded. Justice had been served. But the voice on the phone suggested something worse, something bigger, something that wasn't finished. And Elena Ward, combat medic, ER nurse, a woman who'd taken down a corrupt police captain, had just been warned that the real fight hadn't even started yet. Elena barely slept that night. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the voice on the phone, the calm certainty, the suggestion that everything she'd fought for had barely scratched the surface. Jay was asleep in the next room, and she didn't wake him. Some battles you prepared for alone. At 8 a.m., she was already dressed and drinking coffee when Jay emerged, hair messy, eyes still half closed. "You're up early," he said. "Meeting with Holt, 9 o'clock. Jay's expression sharpened. "About the call?" "Yeah." "Want me to come?" Elena almost said yes, almost let herself lean on him, but this was hers to face. "I need to do this alone, but thank you." Jay nodded. He understood. That's why it worked between them. He knew when to push and when to step back. "Call me after." "I will." The drive to Holt's office took 20 minutes through morning traffic. Elena parked in the Federal Building garage and took the elevator to the 7th floor. Holt was waiting in a conference room, looking like he'd aged 5 years in the past week. 2 other people sat at the table, a woman in her 50s with silver hair and sharp eyes, and a younger man in a suit that screamed DOJ. "Elena, this is Director Sarah Kellerman from the FBI's Public Corruption Unit and Assistant Attorney General Michael Torres." Holt gestured to the chairs. "Sit. We need to talk." Elena sat. "What's going on?" Kellerman spoke first. "How much do you know about the Metro PD task force funding structure?" "Nothing. I just knew they were corrupt." "The task force was federally funded," Torres said, part of a grant program designed to combat drug trafficking in mid-sized cities. Voss's unit received $3 million over 2 years, but when we started auditing the books after your testimony, we found discrepancies. "What kind of discrepancies?" "The kind that suggests the money wasn't going where it was supposed to. Equipment purchases that never happened, overtime claims for officers who weren't working, seized assets that disappeared from evidence." Kellerman pulled up a laptop screen showing spreadsheets. Someone was siphoning money, a lot of it. Elena's stomach tightened. Voss. Voss was taking a cut, but he wasn't running it. He was middle management. Kellerman's eyes were hard. The money was flowing up to someone with access to federal databases, someone who could manipulate records across multiple jurisdictions. "Who?" Torres and Kellerman exchanged glances. Holt spoke. "We don't know yet, but whoever it is has resources. Connections in law enforcement, government, possibly private sector. They've been operating for years, setting up these task forces in different cities, using them to generate revenue through asset seizures and federal grants. And when I took down Voss, I threatened that whole operation." "Exactly," Kellerman said, "which is why someone called you yesterday. They're either trying to recruit you or scare you off. Maybe both." Elena's jaw tightened. "So what do we do?" "We build a case, carefully, quietly." Torres leaned forward. "But we need your help. You're already in the middle of this. Whoever's running things knows about you. They might reach out again, try to flip you, or eliminate you as a threat. You want me to be bait. We want you to be aware and protected." Holt's voice was firm. "You're not going into this alone. We'll have surveillance, backup, everything. But if they contact you again, we need to know what they say, what they offer, how they operate." Elena thought about the voice on the phone, the calm professionalism, the suggestion that she was valuable. "And if I say no, then you go back to your life and we work this case without you," Kellerman said. "But they might come after you anyway. You're a loose end, a witness who can't be controlled. People like that don't like loose ends." The room went quiet. Elena looked at each of them. Holt, exhausted but determined. Kellerman, calculating but honest. Torres, political but principled. They were asking her to step deeper into something that could consume her, to risk more than she already had. But she thought about Rachel Voss, about the people whose lives had been destroyed by a system that prioritized money over justice, about the voice on the phone, so certain she'd fold eventually. "I'm in," she said. "But I'm not changing my life for this. I still work. I still have a personal life. And the second this puts Jay or anyone I care about in real danger, I'm out." Kellerman nodded. "Fair. We'll set up protocols. You wear a wire when possible. Report any contact, and we'll have agents monitoring your apartment, your workplace." "How long?" "As long as it takes. Could be weeks, could be months." Torres stood. "But understand, once we start this, there's no going back. You become part of an active federal investigation. Everything changes." Elena stood too. "Everything already changed. I'm just deciding what to do about it." They spent the next 2 hours going over procedures, protocols, equipment. Elena was fitted with a small recording device that looked like a phone charm. Given emergency contacts, briefed on what to say, what not to say, how to handle different scenarios. By the time she left, her head was spinning. She called Jay from the parking lot. "I need to see you. I'm at your apartment, doors open." When she got home, Jay was sitting on her couch with 2 cups of coffee waiting. He looked at her face and didn't ask questions, just handed her one of the cups. "They want me to help catch whoever's running the whole operation," Elena said. "Wear a wire, report contacts, be part of an active investigation." "And you said yes." "I said yes." Jay nodded slowly. "Okay, what do you need from me?" "I need you to tell me if I'm crazy, if I'm pushing too hard, if I should just walk away and let someone else handle it." "You're not crazy, but you are stubborn as hell." Jay's smile was small, genuine. "And no, you shouldn't walk away, because that's not who you are. You don't quit when things get hard. You dig in. Even when it's stupid? Especially then." Elena almost laughed. Almost. Instead, she sat next to him and let herself lean against his shoulder. "I'm tired." "I know. I just want to go to work, save lives, come home, be normal." "You will be, eventually, but right now you're in the middle of something that matters, and you're the only one who can do it." Jay's arm came around her shoulders. "So we deal with it. Together." They sat like that for a while. Then Elena's phone buzzed. "Kim, where are you? We're slammed." She pulled away from Jay. "I have to go to work." "I know. I'll be here when you get back." Elena changed into scrubs, grabbed her bag, and headed to the hospital. The ER was chaos. Car accident victims, a stabbing, 2 cardiac arrests. She threw herself into it, grateful for the distraction. Hands moving through familiar procedures. Mind focused on problems she knew how to solve. Dr. Hassan found her during a lull. "You look like hell." "Thanks. I'm serious. When's the last time you slept more than 4 hours?" Elena didn't answer. Hassan sighed. "Look, I know there's stuff going on, stuff you can't talk about, but you're no good to anyone if you burn out. Take a day off. Actually rest." "I'm fine." "You're not, but you're too stubborn to admit it." Hassan's expression softened. "Just be careful, okay? Whatever you're dealing with, it's not worth destroying yourself over." Elena nodded, but didn't promise anything. The shift ended at midnight. Elena drove home exhausted, every muscle aching. Jay was asleep in the guest room. She showered, collapsed into bed, and was out in seconds. Her phone woke her at 3 a.m. Private number. She sat up, heart racing, and answered. "Hello?" "Did you talk to the feds?" The same voice from before. Calm, professional. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand what you're walking into. The people you're helping, Holt, Kellerman, Torres, they think this is about corruption, about money, about bad cops." A pause. "It's bigger than that. It's about control, about systems that keep things running smoothly, and you're threatening to disrupt it." "Good. Is it? Because once you pull this thread, everything unravels. People lose jobs, families lose income, communities lose the protection they've been getting, flawed as it is. You think you're fighting for justice, but justice is messy, complicated. Sometimes it hurts more people than it helps." Elena's jaw tightened. You're trying to make me feel guilty for holding criminals accountable. I'm trying to make you see the bigger picture. You're smart enough to understand that the world isn't black and white, that sometimes the right thing isn't the good thing. I've seen combat. I've held people together while they died. Don't lecture me about hard choices. The voice was quiet for a moment, then softer. Then you should understand better than anyone. Sometimes survival means compromising, adapting, accepting that perfect justice doesn't exist. Maybe not, but that doesn't mean I stop trying. Stubborn. I respect that. A pause. Last chance, Ms. Ward. Walk away. Tell the feds you changed your mind. Go back to saving lives in the ER, or push forward and find out exactly how deep this goes. Your choice. I already made my choice. Then I'll see you soon. The line went dead. Elena sat in the dark, phone in her hand, adrenaline coursing through her. She called Holt immediately. They called again, same person. Tried to convince me to back off, said I'd see them soon. You get it recorded? Elena grabbed the wire device from her nightstand. Yeah, got all of it. Good. Send it to me now. We'll analyze the voice, look for background sounds, anything that might help identify them. She sent the file and lay back down, but sleep was impossible now. Her mind kept turning over the conversation, the calm rationality, the suggestion that she was causing more harm than good. She thought about Voss sitting in prison, about Dutch's conviction, about Rachel getting her son's belongings back. Those weren't abstract victories. They were real people getting real justice. But the voice had planted a seed of doubt. What if there were consequences she hadn't considered? What if taking down this network caused more damage than it prevented? Elena shook her head. That was the game. Make her question herself. Make her hesitate. Make her back down. It wouldn't work. The next week passed in mounting tension. Elena worked her shifts, wore the wire, waited for contact. Nothing came. The silence felt deliberate, calculated. Like whoever was pulling the strings was watching, waiting for the right moment. Voss's trial started on a Tuesday. Elena wasn't called to testify. Her grand jury testimony was enough. But she watched the news coverage, saw Voss in his suit and handcuffs, face blank, eyes dead, saw the parade of witnesses, the evidence presented, the case built brick by brick. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Voss was sentenced to 18 years federal prison. No parole, no deals, just time. Elena watched the verdict on the hospital break room TV and felt nothing. No satisfaction, no relief. Just acknowledgement that one piece was finished. But the larger game was still playing out. 2 days after the verdict, Elena was leaving the hospital when a car pulled up beside her. Black sedan, tinted windows. The back door opened. Ms. Ward, get in. Kellerman's voice. Kellerman's mutts. Elena hesitated, then climbed in. Kellerman was in the back seat, laptop open, looking grim. Holt was in the front passenger seat. We got a hit, Kellerman said. Voice analysis on your recording matched someone in the federal database. Former DEA agent named Marcus Aldridge. Went private sector 5 years ago. Now runs a consulting firm that advises police departments on asset seizure programs. Elena's blood went cold. He's been setting up these operations across the country. Not just setting them up, running them. We found shell companies, offshore accounts, payments flowing through his firm to at least 15 different task forces in 12 states. He's been operating for 8 years, pulling in millions. Where's he now? That's the problem. He disappeared 3 days ago, cleared out his office, closed his accounts, vanished. Holt turned in his seat. We think he knows we're close, and we think he's going to make a move. What kind of move? Either run permanently or tie up loose ends. Kellerman's eyes were hard. You're a loose end, Elena. The one person who can connect the dots from the street level to the top. If he's smart, he'll try to eliminate you before we can bring him in. Elena's hands clenched. So what do? We put you somewhere safe, protected, until we find him. No. Kellerman blinked. Excuse me? I'm not hiding. That's what he wants. To make me disappear, to neutralize me as a threat. I stay visible. I keep working. And when he comes for me, you catch him. That's incredibly dangerous. I've lived through dangerous before, and I'm not running from this. Holt and Kellerman exchanged glances. Finally, Holt nodded. We'll triple security. Agents at the hospital, your apartment, everywhere you go. But Elena, if he comes for you, it won't be obvious. It'll be professional. Careful. You might not see it coming. Then you better make sure you do." They dropped her back at her car. Elena drove home, checking mirrors, watching for tails. Nothing obvious. But that didn't mean nothing was there. Jay was waiting when she got home. She told him everything. He listened without interrupting, face growing darker with each detail. "You're using yourself as bait," he said when she finished. "I'm refusing to hide." "There's a difference." "Not to me." Elena met his eyes. "I can't live the rest of my life looking over my shoulder, wondering if he's going to come after me. Better to draw him out. End this." Jay was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood and walked to his bag, pulled out a handgun in a holster. "You remember how to use this?" "Yeah." "Good. Keep it close. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you call me. Promise." "I promise." That night, Elena slept with the gun on her nightstand and her phone within reach. The apartment was quiet, but she could feel the presence of federal agents stationed outside, watching, waiting. 3 days passed. Nothing happened. Elena went to work, came home, lived her life under the weight of constant surveillance. It felt like holding her breath underwater, waiting to see if she'd surface or drown. On the 4th day, Elena was restocking supplies in the ER when a patient walked in. Male, mid-40s, wearing business casual, holding his arm like it hurt. He approached the check-in desk. "I think I broke my wrist," he said. "Fell on some ice." The receptionist took his information and sent him to Bay 5. Elena happened to be walking past when he was called back. Their eyes met for half a second. Something in his gaze made her freeze. She knew that look, had seen it in Kandahar, the calm assessment of someone deciding whether to act. Elena pulled out her phone and texted Holt. "Man in Bay 5. Something's wrong." Then she grabbed Dr. Hassan. "I need you to examine the patient in 5, possible fracture. You okay?" "Fine. Just be careful with this one." Hassan frowned, but didn't argue. Elena watched from the hallway as he went in. Through the window, she could see the patient sitting calmly, waiting. Too calm, too controlled. Her phone buzzed. "Holt. Agents are 2 minutes out. Stay away from that bay." Elena's heart hammered. She watched Hassan examine the man's wrist, asking questions, touching gently. Everything looked normal, professional, safe. Then the man's other hand moved to his jacket pocket. Elena didn't think. She pushed through the door. "Dr. Hassan, you're needed in trauma 2. Urgent." Hassan looked up, annoyed. "I'm in the middle, sir. Now." Something in her tone made him move. He walked out, confused. Elena stayed in the doorway, blocking it, eyes locked on the patient. "You're Marcus Aldridge," she said quietly. The man's expression didn't change, but his hand stayed in his pocket. "You're very perceptive, Ms. Ward. What are you doing here?" "Same thing you are. Making choices." His voice was the one from the phone, calm, professional. "I wanted to see you in person, understand what kind of person derails 8 years of work, because she couldn't let a simple warrant slide." "It wasn't a simple warrant. It was illegal. It was efficient, just like everything else you've destroyed." Aldridge's hand moved slightly in his pocket. "I built something that worked, that made cities safer, caught criminals, generated revenue, and you tore it down because of principles. Principles matter. Do they? When people die because the task forces aren't there anymore. When crime goes up because the system you broke isn't fixed yet. When the cure is worse than the disease." Elena's jaw tightened. The disease was corruption. The cure is accountability. The cure is chaos. Aldridge stood slowly. His hand was still in his pocket. "But you don't see that. You see heroes and villains, black and white. You think standing your ground makes you right. I think standing my ground makes me free." Aldridge smiled, sad, almost pitying. "Then you'll die free. Or live to see everything you fought for collapse anyway." His hand started to pull from his pocket. Elena moved. Training took over. She grabbed his wrist, twisted hard, drove her shoulder into his chest. Aldridge slammed back against the exam table, gasping. His hand came out of his pocket, empty except for a small recording device. Not a weapon. A recorder. I wasn't going to shoot you, Aldridge said, breathing hard. I just wanted your confession. On tape. Admitting you knew your actions would cause harm, that you chose ideology over practicality. Elena's grip didn't loosen. You're not getting that. The door burst open. Federal agents flooded in, weapons drawn. Hands! Show me your hands! Aldridge raised his empty hands slowly. Calm returned to his face. I'm unarmed. I came here as a patient. Marcus Aldridge, you're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, racketeering, and witness intimidation. Kellerman appeared behind the agents, face hard. Get him out of here. They cuffed Aldridge and led him away. He looked back at Elena once. You won a battle, but the war doesn't end. It just finds new players. Then he was gone. Elena stood in the exam bay, adrenaline fading, hands shaking slightly. Kellerman approached her carefully. You okay? Yeah. That was stupid and brave and probably saved his life considering what my agents would have done if they'd seen him reach for anything. Elena managed a weak smile. Just doing my job. Your job is saving lives, not tackling federal fugitives. Sometimes they overlap. The hospital went on lockdown for 2 hours while agents swept for accomplices. Found none. Aldridge had come alone, arrogant enough to think he could manipulate Elena into giving him what he needed. He'd been wrong. By evening, the hospital was back to normal chaos. Elena finished her shift in a daze, answered questions from administration, gave a statement to the FBI. When she finally left, Jay was waiting in the parking lot. You tackled a wanted fugitive, he said. He wasn't armed. You didn't know that. Elena climbed into her car. No, but I knew if I didn't move, Hassan might have gotten hurt, so I moved. Jay followed her home. They sat in her apartment, not talking, just existing in the same space. Eventually, Jay spoke. It's over now, right? Yeah, it's over. Good. He pulled her close. Because I'd really like to have a normal relationship with you, one where nobody's trying to kill or recruit you. Elena laughed, genuine, surprised. That sounds nice. Doesn't it? The trial for Marcus Aldridge happened 4 months later. Elena testified for 2 days, walking the jury through everything, from Dutch's knock on her door to Aldridge's attempted manipulation in the ER. The defense tried to paint her as vindictive, as someone with an anti-authority complex. The prosecution showed footage, recordings, financial documents that buried those arguments. The jury came back in less than a day. Guilty on all 37 counts. Aldridge got 25 years. No parole. His consulting firm was dissolved, his assets seized. Every task force he'd set up was investigated, restructured, or disbanded. Dozens of wrongful convictions were overturned. Hundreds of people got their property back. And Elena Ward went back to work. The hospital threw another ceremony. Elena accepted another plaque, shook more hands, smiled for more photos. But this time it felt different. Not like validation she didn't want, but acknowledgement of something that mattered. Afterward, Kim cornered her near the parking lot. You're kind of famous now, you know that? I'm really not. DOJ put out a press release. You're literally cited as a key witness in the biggest police corruption case in a decade. Elena sighed. Great. Hey, it beats being known as that nurse who's always tired. Kim smiled. Seriously, though, I'm proud of you. What you did took guts most people don't have. I just didn't let them push me around. That's exactly what made it brave. Kim squeezed her shoulder. Now go home. Your boyfriend's been sitting in the parking lot for an hour waiting for you. Elena found Jay leaning against his car, arms crossed, looking patient. Ready to go? Where? Anywhere that's not here. Dinner, movie, walk in the park, something normal. They chose dinner, a small Italian place that didn't care about corruption cases or federal investigations, just served pasta and wine and let people be. Elena ordered something with too much cheese. Jay got carbonara. They talked about nothing important, his next deployment, her schedule, whether they should get a dog. Normal, human, real. Halfway through dinner, Elena's phone buzzed. Lena, final article published. How one nurse brought down a national corruption network. Thought you'd want to see it. Elena opened the link. The article was comprehensive, well-researched, fair. It told the whole story. Dutch, Voss, Aldridge, the network. But it also told her story. Not as a hero. As someone who'd been pushed and pushed back. She showed it to Jay. He read it, then looked at her. How does it feel, seeing it all laid out like that? Weird, like it happened to someone else. But it didn't. It happened to you. And you survived it. More than survived. You won. Elena thought about that. I don't know if I won. I just didn't lose. In a fight like that, not losing is winning. They finished dinner and drove back to Elena's apartment. Jay stayed over, not in the guest room anymore, but with her. They fell asleep tangled together, breathing in sync. The next morning, Elena woke to sunlight streaming through the window and Jay already up, making coffee. She joined him in the kitchen, still half asleep. I've been thinking, Jay said, about us, about what happens when I deploy next month. Elena's stomach tightened. What about it? I don't want to do the long-distance thing halfway. I want to do it right. Calls, letters, visits when I can. Actually building something instead of just waiting for the next crisis. I want that too. Good. Jay handed her a cup of coffee. Because you're kind of stuck with me now. Elena smiled, real, genuine, unguarded. Could be worse. Could be better too, but we'll get there. 3 weeks later, Elena stood in a federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., testifying before a Senate subcommittee on police reform. She wore a simple suit, hair pulled back, no makeup beyond what was necessary. The room was packed with senators, aides, reporters, cameras. Senator Patricia Huang chaired the committee. She looked at Elena with respect and curiosity. Ms. Ward, you've become the face of this investigation. How does that feel? Uncomfortable, Elena said honestly. I'm not an activist. I'm not trying to change the world. I just didn't want corrupt cops in my apartment. A few senators smiled. Huang continued. But your actions did change things. Exposed a network, led to arrests, reforms. Do you think individual citizens have a responsibility to stand up against corruption when they see it? Elena thought carefully. I think people have a responsibility to themselves, to not let fear control their choices. I stood up because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't, but I don't judge people who make different choices. Everyone's fighting their own battles. What would you say to someone facing a similar situation? Someone being pressured by authority figures to comply with something they know is wrong? Elena looked directly at the camera. I'd say trust your instincts. Document everything. Find people who'll support you. And remember that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right even when you're terrified. Because the alternative is living under someone else's control. And that's not living. The testimony lasted 3 hours. When it was over, Elena walked out of the courthouse and found Jay waiting on the steps. How'd it go? He asked. I have no idea, but it's done. They walked through D.C. together, anonymous among the crowds. Just two people navigating the city, holding hands, being normal. That night, Elena's phone rang. Rachel Voss. I'm watching the news, Rachel said, voice thick with emotion. Seeing you testify. And I just wanted to say thank you for showing me that fighting back was possible. My son starts college next month. He got his life back because you gave us hope. Elena's throat tightened. You fought too. Don't forget that. I only fought because you showed me how. Rachel took a shaky breath. Thank you for everything. After she hung up, Elena sat on her hotel bed and cried. Not from sadness, from release, from knowing that the battles she'd fought hadn't just been for herself. They'd mattered to people she'd never meet, had changed lives she'd never see. Jay held her while she cried, not saying anything, just being there. 6 months later, Elena was back in Millbrook, back in the ER, back in the rhythm of saving lives. The media attention had faded. The investigations were ongoing, but no longer required her constant involvement. She was just a nurse again. Exactly what she wanted. Kim found her during a shift. You've got a visitor, waiting room. Elena frowned. Who? Didn't say, but she looks official. Elena walked out to find Director Kellerman waiting, looking professional but warm. Ms. Ward, got a minute? They stepped outside. Kellerman pulled out an envelope. The FBI wants to offer you a position. Consultant. Help us train agents on recognizing corruption, understanding civilian perspectives, building cases that hold up. You'd keep your nursing job, just come in a few times a month, share your expertise. Elena stared at the envelope. I'm not an expert. You took down a national network. That makes you an expert. Kellerman's smile was genuine. Think about it. No pressure. But we could use someone like you. Elena took the envelope. I'll think about it. That night she showed the offer to Jay. He read it, then looked at her. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me just wants to work and come home, but another part thinks maybe I can help prevent this from happening to other people. Both are valid. What does your gut say? Elena thought about Rachel, about the people who'd called her, thanked her, told her she'd changed their lives, about the system that was broken and slow, but maybe, just maybe, could be better. My gut says I'm tired, but also that tired isn't the same as done, Jay smiled. Then there's your answer. Elena accepted the consulting position. Once a month, she flew to Quantico and taught FBI recruits about civilian perspectives, about the impact of corruption, about the importance of accountability. The rest of the time, she worked in the ER, saved lives, lived her life. Jay deployed. They talked via video calls, sent letters, counted down days until his return. It wasn't easy, but it was real. And real was enough. 1 year after Dutch knocked on her door, Elena stood in her apartment, coffee in hand, watching the sun rise over Millbrook. The city looked the same, but she'd changed. Somewhere in the fight, she'd stopped being someone who just survived and became someone who stood her ground. Her phone buzzed. Holt. Aldridge appeal denied. Sentence stands. It's really over, Elena typed back. Good. She set the phone down and finished her coffee. In 2 hours, she'd be at the hospital. Patients would need her. Lives would hang in the balance. The work would continue. But for now, she just stood in the quiet, breathing, being. Someone once told her courage was doing what's right, even when terrified. She'd learned it was more than that. Courage was choosing to stand when sitting was easier, fighting when surrendering was safer, believing that one person could make a difference even when the whole world said otherwise. She'd been underestimated, dismissed, threatened, pushed, and she'd pushed back harder. Not because she was a hero, not because she was fearless, but because she knew the alternative. Living under someone else's control, accepting injustice, looking away, would have killed something essential inside her. So she'd stood. She'd fought. She'd won. And in doing so, she'd proven something she'd always known but sometimes forgot, that the quiet strength of one person refusing to break could move mountains. The city woke around her. Another day. Another chance to make a difference. Elena Ward, combat medic, ER nurse, consultant, survivor, was ready. She'd always been ready. She just hadn't known it until someone tried to make her move. And when they did, she'd shown them exactly what happens when you underestimate someone who's already survived hell. You don't just lose. You learn why they walked through fire in the first place. And you burn.